that you brought to a situation like this under Vermont law?
You mean the ACLU? I think it is, yes.
Did you end up getting married?
We're getting married.
And did you have any other contacts after that email? In other words, did you go back to the lawyer and say, look, you can't do this? Or is that the extent of your contact with the Inn or its representatives?
I had further contact with the events manager. I spoke with her on the phone. She was very apologetic and said that this was not her personal or professional belief, but it was the policy of her employers. So we had a couple of phone conversations, and I believe maybe a couple of more email exchanges.
And I also spoke with the event manager, who said that in the span of 3 years, there were at least 3 couples, including Kate and Ming, that she had personally had to turn away pursuant to its policy.
Mr. Black, are you seeing cases like this around the country as gay marriage is legalized around the country, or is this sort of a growing concern for the ACLU?
Well, we don't see this as a case about marriage for same-sex couples. This is a basic discrimination case. And what the Inn did here was illegal before marriage was legalized. It was illegal before the civil unions law was passed. If someone called up the Inn and said, we are just having a party to celebrate our commitment to each other with no legal recognition, no, the Inn in Vermont wouldn't have been able to turn them away. So it's important to us that people see this type of discrimination as discrimination and not as something else just because it occurs in the context of a wedding celebration.
What sort of precedent exists out there for public challenges to public accommodation statutes on the basis of sexual orientation?
Well, the precedent for challenges to public accommodation statutes goes back many years. When the Civil Rights Act was passed, there were people that said their religious beliefs required them to not serve certain customers because of their race, or to seat the customers separately. And in the 80s and 90s, some people said that their religious beliefs required that they pay women less, or that they not hire women for certain jobs. And all of those challenges have been rejected. When you are a public business, you have to be open to the public, and you can't pick and choose who your customers are. So this is not as Chaney said, this isn't a private club. It's not a private organization. It's not a church. It's not a religious group. It is a public inn. And going back to Blackstone and the common law, inns had to be open to everyone. So that's the precedent that we think is most applicable here.
How much did you propose to spend at the Wildflower Inn on this event?
How many guests were expected?
I was estimating that with the cost of the wedding, the catering, and guests who would be staying at the inn, it was probably going to run between $30,000 and $35,000.
And how many guests?
Well, we don't know what the final count is yet.
Well, I mean, it's going to be 15 people or 300? Or...
120, roughly.
And where are you going to hold the reception now?
We've found another facility which is lovely.
In Vermont?
In Vermont. And lovely and very welcoming.
What's the name of it?
I think I'd rather not say.
Why not?
I want their wedding to be a celebration of their life together. I don't want it to be about a lawsuit. I don't want anybody showing up protesting or anything like that.
What's the day of the wedding?
For the same reason, we want to send it. It'll be this fall.
If after exchanging more emails, they had said, okay, grudgingly, fine, it's illegal illegal for us not to let you have your wedding here. We don't want you here, but we have to let you. Would you have chosen to have the wedding at the Wildflower?
I don't know. I hadn't considered that. I think it would probably depend on the conversation with the inn. I never actually said to the event manager, you know, this is illegal, don't you? It sort of didn't, I didn't make that connection until a little bit later. I just sort of went with, our policy is we don't host gay wedding receptions.
Does the Wildflower Inn know this is coming? Did you talk to them in advance and say, look, we're going to give you this opportunity to change before we, this is what's about to befall them, befalls them, national notoriety.
Our understanding is this is a long-standing policy that's received complaints as far back as 2005. So it's not a one-time misunderstanding.
But did you tell them to change or we're going to file this suit?
No, we didn't.
And do they know that you're doing this today?
They will when they're served by the sheriff.
When will that
It could be today or tomorrow.
And have you filed a complaint with the Human Rights Commission about this? This is a long-standing policy on the part of this one commercial establishment of discrimination. It seems like something that the commission would want to take action on.
Well, Vermont's law permits us to do either route. We can go through the Human Rights Commission, or we can just go right to court. And because this was such a clear-cut violation, we just decided to file suit.
And so would you be looking for financial compensation, or are you trying to get them to host the event, or to drop the policy, or all of the above?
We're looking for symbolic damages. In our complaint, which is on the table, we've asked for $1. This is not a case about money. And what we want is for the inn to cease its current practice and to never do it again. And I think you'll be unsurprised to learn that, no, we don't want to have the reception at the inn anymore.
And one of the grounds of relief we're seeking is called declaratory relief, which is one of the things that Kate said when she contacted me is she didn't know whether it was illegal or not. And I think that's sort of part of the issue, is this extremely hurtful event happened to them. And we want a court to declare that what happened to you was illegal. It violated the law, and there's a reason why you felt this way, and it's because what they did is in violation of the law. So that's a very important part of the relief that we're seeking.
Why this case now? Presumably, ACLU National is involved in this. You all must feel that this has some application to people in all 50 states. Why is this the right case for you all to invest in?
Well, you can't always pick and choose when discrimination occurs. I think that, again, like I said before, our main message in bringing this case is that this is a discrimination case. And it'd be no different if they owned a store and said we don't want to, sell, clothes to you or give you food or any other public accommodations. And the fact that it's occurring in a new context shouldn't affect the way that we think about it. As Americans, we believe in equality and fair treatment for everyone, and that if you're going to run a public business, you need to be open to the public. And the issue should be a very simple, straightforward one. And so that's our message. It's in a new context, but the underlying principle is exactly the same.
Vermont is a gay tourism association. There are a lot of establishments that actively reach out to the gay community to say, we want you to come from out of state. Do you have any concerns about what this press is going to do to other inns in Vermont who might suffer some sort of unintended backlash as a result of the media attention around the Wildflower?
Well, I think that most Vermonters would understand that what happened to Kate and Ming at the Wildflower Inn is not representative of Vermont as a whole. And at the ACLU, our experience at least has been that Vermont remains welcoming with open arms for LGBT travelers, people who want to come celebrate a major life event or for whatever reason. So to answer your question, we don't want to send the message that Vermont is not friendly or open. We think it is. We just think that this particular inn has a problem with their policy.
Isolated incident here? You don't know of any other inns or establishments that are engaged in this sort of behavior?
You know, this is the first complaint we've had in this particular context.
Has there been any effort to contact the other couples who were turned away and get them to join in on this?
We don't know their names.
Okay.
So how do you know the previous cases?
Well, the person the events director told me about 3 couples in a year, so we don't know their names.
No, I wanted to answer the other gentleman's her question.
Can you stand at the mics when you answer, please?
Just
to answer your question about whether we would still have a wedding there, whether we want to have a wedding reception there, this is not about my daughter's wedding. This is about a public accommodation, a public business breaking the law. If I go in and shoplift, I'm going to be arrested. If I shoplift 3 times, I'm probably going to be imprisoned. So why then do we allow a law about discrimination to be unenforced? That trivializes that law. And when you do that, you basically say that people can pick and choose what laws they want to follow, they're willing to obey. That is not okay. This country is supposed to have the rule of law, and that has to be all laws. So what is most important to me is to send a message to the rest of the public accommodations in this country that you cannot discriminate. That is a law that is going to be enforced. It's not trivialized.
Was the Wildflower, just want to clarify, was the first thing you contacted?
Yes.
How many in all did you contact throughout this process?
I received emails from about 10 or 12 venues. And the reason I called the Wildflower Inn first was because they were in a location that was most convenient. And they had a glowing brochure and website, and were very much accommodating of weddings. They had wonderful photographs and whatever.
And just to clarify the series of events, Chaney contacted the Vermont Convention Bureau and said, I'm looking for a place to host this reception. And they sent an announcement to their email list of all public businesses signed up with the Bureau that want to host these receptions. And the Wildflower Inn then contacted Chaney. So the person who made the initial outreach was not actually Chaney, it was the inn that sent their email to her inbox.
Are you guys kind of bracing yourselves for what is next? I mean, did you talk about what are we getting ourselves into? And I mean,
Well, that is why we are not telling you the date of the wedding.
right. I just wonder if that was something that you all, if you had any reservations about diving into this and what you're expecting next.
Yeah, we definitely considered, what the backlash could be for us and just in general, and we felt like it was still more important to go forward because, I at least grew up in the generation that's all about breaking silence, and so it felt sort of counterintuitive and critical to not say something, and so we trusted, the ACLU to decide if it was the right time to go forward, and that's, like Channing said, we're trying to really protect, our wedding, so it's a separate thing, because we just don't, we don't want it to affect it.
I think that, we definitely had certain reservations about moving forward, given the fact that we wanted it to be separate from the wedding itself. But I think that, I was very struck by the fact that I really haven't encountered a lot of discrimination in my life regarding my sexual orientation, and been very fortunate in that way. And in thinking about whether or not to move forward, it felt like the reason why I'd been so fortunate was because other people had stood up before me and had, said when their rights had been violated, and so that by not service to those that come after me. And so it felt like, despite the fact that it's maybe not as convenient as we would like it to be, that it's something that's really important.
So it was a matter more of principle to you than it was that specific place you wanted?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else?
Where in New York State do you live?
We live in New York City.
So once again, we've got a copy of the papers on the back table there, along with a copy of the